Hello, ngHouston. I am super excited tonight. I don't think we've gotten together in a couple weeks, but here we are. And we have a really great episode tonight. We're going to jump into it here in just a second. But first, I want to introduce our panelists. Let's just go across. Keith Stewart, let's start with you. Hello, Keith.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm really happy to have you on tonight because you're not here enough. You should be here like all the time, I wish. But I know you have a real job and important responsibilities, and we don't see you as often as we like. But I'm really glad that you're here tonight.
I'm glad I can make it too. I'm excited about this.
I know this topic is like hitting pretty close to home to you. You have kids at home too, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really excited to start exposing them to programming concepts and all that. So yeah, excited to talk about this.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Well, I'm glad you could join us.
Thanks.
And Kyler is brand new to ngHouston. So this is your official ngHouston debut, and I'm super excited to have you. And so say hello. You want to tell us a little bit about you for those of us who don't know you?
Sure. So my name is Callie Johnson. I thought I was going to be a foreign language teacher for the rest of my life. Education didn't work out for me, so taught myself to code, became a software engineer, met Bonnie at NG Atlanta, which was awesome, and Keith, and hung out with those guys, really awesome people. So just kind of really excited about the trajectory of my career is going right now. So I'm super excited to be here. This is something I've always thought about doing myself, being like, I guess my background being in education. So I'm definitely really excited for tonight's talk.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a developer, and it's it's definitely something a lot of fun to teach. Well, we're really happy to have you. You're cool people, and we're very happy to have you on the show.
Happy to be here.
Speaking of happy to have you, Lance.
Hello. So I've been here a few times before, and I tried to talk my kids into joining, but the boys just did not want to be on camera. They said maybe they'll watch it later. And my 12-year-old.
What are they, like 13, 12, and 13? Everything's awkward when you're in junior high. It's like the most awkward age.
Yeah, but my 12-year-old has done a lot of Scratch, so he's already done some programming. I'm curious to see from Jeff if that is transferable, if he's going to tell us about something that just blows Scratch out of the water. Yeah, who knows what we'll find out.
You know, if he's 12 and he's been doing Scratch for a while, he might be ready for Tour of Heroes.
That's true.
Well, so I am really excited to jump right into this, and so we saved the best for last because we have to introduce our special guests. Jeff and Mady, you want to say hello?
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
Yeah, my name is Jeff Whelpley. I'm the co-founder of Get Human, Google Developer Expert. Been doing a lot of stuff in the Angular community for a while. And
hi, I'm Mady and Madeline Whelpley, and I'm a third grader in the Roosevelt School, and I love dance, and I love sports, and I love coding.
And I love you. You're the cutest. You're just so adorable. I'm so excited to have you guys both on the show. So I met Jeff years ago, I think probably the first or second time I went to NGConf, and Jeff is just really one of the nicest, one of the smartest guys, and definitely one of the nicest people in the Angular community. And then I met his daughter, I met his wife, Carolyn, who also does some coding, and his daughters are just super fun. Really, your whole family is just absolutely fun and adorable. So I'm super glad to have you guys on the show. And so I know about it, but I want you to kind of start at the beginning for the people who don't know the whole background. So you came up with, and I really would like you to tell us like where this idea started from the very beginning, and then kind of how it played out. And you guys have been doing it for a while, so you can share with us like what you've learned along the way. But really, I think you should start at the beginning and tell us like whose idea was this and how did it come about?
yeah, so like starting from the beginning, I guess there's like two ways you could look at it. One is that there's only really like two things that I know how to do. One is write code, and the other is play soccer. And so those are like the two things that I try to like teach to my kids, you know. But there's actually a more general issue that I realized very quickly, which is that there's this confluence of two different trends going on in the world today, actually. One where there's a huge need for software developers out there. Right? You know, every single company in the world is, to some degree, needs technology, a lot of them need software developers. And there's a huge gap. There's not as many out there than they can fill all of the jobs. So that's like where the upward trend is. And the downward trend, it's very, very unfortunate, but in a lot of our education systems, a lot of our communities, the funding for education is getting tighter and tighter. It's getting harder and harder to find the funds to do programs to teach kids how to code.
It's all going to private. Like the public schools are they're just starving, and it's very sad. And yeah, and I find the same thing, even trying to hire contractors. You can't find any decent plumbers. The plumbers, the electricians, any skilled labor, any skilled anything, the people that I find are like old, right? And it's hard to find like young people coming in with these skills because they're not learning the skills, and then the young people go into the job market and they don't have the skills. So what was your plan to combat that?
Yeah, so before
I taught my daughter, you taught your daughter, but then you took it a step further.
Well, before we even started doing the NG Club, which we'll get to and everything like that, just like at home, Mady, what was the very first thing that you and I did for coding?
Robot turtles.
That's right, robot turtles. You want to tell them a little bit about robot turtles?
Robot turtles, you essentially have cards. It was like forward, blast, and stuff, and you have to get the turtle to the gem using the cards.
So it's a board game, and you're a turtle on the board, and then you use the cards to move the turtle around the board to try to get to a gem. And there's obstacles and there's all these other things, but like each of the cards is like a line of code. And
where did you get it? You made it or you bought it?
Yeah. It's one of the most popular Kickstarters of all time. It's something that has been around for like 3 years now, I think, something like that.
Lance just put a link in the chat. I'm going to copy it over to the YouTube chat so everybody can see it. I've never heard of that. I love it.
And the great thing about Robot Turtles is that it's so simple that you can, even like 3-year-olds can play it to a degree. And obviously, it's not like you're learning bloom filters playing with this board game. It is like just the very, very basics of it. But it's just a good way to start getting introduced to some of those topics.
I mean, I love that because I think the biggest problem, one of the reasons why I waited so long to start developing is because I was intimidated. Like I really thought programmers were just smarter than all the rest of us, right? And I never even tried to do programming for years because I didn't think I was smart enough. And I thought they're just like really weird geniuses or something. And so I think that taking kids, young kids or beginners, anybody who's thinking about programming and just like making it so that it's not so scary is such a good first step. That's so great.
Yeah, and then after Robot Turtles for like a little bit, the next thing, Mady, what was the next thing?
Scratch.
That's right, Scratch. So I think one of you guys mentioned that your kids do Scratch, right?
Yeah, my kids have done some Scratch.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really awesome for young kids. It's very visual. Mady, what did you like about Scratch?
I like that I liked a lot of things because it's like the next step in coding. It's still a game, but it's like a lot harder than Robot Turtles.
Yeah. So it's more challenging than Robot Turtles. It's starting to get some of the concepts more ingrained, but also it's pretty lightweight. It's if they wanted to, they don't have to actually like challenge themselves. They can just like sit around and change background colors a lot, which is sort of a time. Get stuck doing that for like hours, but you can also you can do some pretty advanced stuff if you want. There's a lot of sites out there that have these like super advanced Scratch challenges where you can create some like amazing games.
That's cool. That would be cool for Lance's sons. They might get bored with it after a while, but then you can like challenge yourself. I didn't even know that. I know Scratch is super popular and it's fun. I have played it and it's pretty fun. But I didn't know that you could do more advanced stuff than that.
Yeah, my son is a huge Harry Potter fan, and he's made his own sorting hat with it. And then he also made like a Hogwarts game where you go to different classes, and then there's puzzles based on potions and other things like that. So he's really gotten into it.
Okay,
Maddie's a Harry Potter fan too, aren't you a Harry Potter fan too, Maddie?
Yes.
Yes, I saw that grin.
Harry Potter. What's that?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say we're actually going to Harry Potter Land for vacation in a couple of weeks. So that's.
You guys are so fun.
Oh, we've done that. We can talk, but that's probably should be an offline conversation.
Yeah, I'll definitely.
Don't get us started on Harry Potter.
I'll definitely pay some questions.
Kyler has a fan. Kyler, who's Galeron28?
That is my buddy Robert Lynch.
You got fans on the show. It's your first episode ever, and you got fans in the chat. That's so great.
It's a great show.
Hello, Galeron. What's his name? Rob?
Robert Lynch.
Everybody say hi, Robert. Okay, and so let's stay on track. Okay. What is the next step? So yeah. What happened after Scratch? So you did Scratch, right? And then.
Well, so what the thing is, once I was teaching Mady, some of her friends would come over sometimes, and they would want to learn too. And I would teach them, but I don't know. It was always I kind of wanted to. That's when the beginning of trying to formulate, making it into like a formal program came into my mind of trying to set up something where I can, in a more structured way, teach the kids about getting into programming and that type of thing. And it just so happened that around that time period, which was essentially the beginning of last summer, that I started talking to some of the people from Maddie's school, who they were looking for people to run these after-school clubs. And so I offered up doing the club, called the NG Club, just after, because everything, I mean, why not, I guess?
Yeah, no, I think it's perfect.
And with the idea being that, not necessarily that we would be doing Angular specifically right off the bat, although I did have a thought that eventually we would get to it, but that we would learn the basics of programming and get kids going on their way, right? So for that first session, we've had 2 sessions so far in the fall and in the winter here. And for the fall, we did almost exclusively focused on Scratch. Like right near the end, we did a couple things in Stack Blitz actually, which went over okay. But for the most part, it was in Scratch. So Mady, with that first session, what do you think in general of the first session was really doing Scratch?
The same thing. You didn't actually learn like real how to type code, but it was just like Scratch. That was the
yeah,
thing we did.
I guess you have to get them started with, like, the people who haven't had any exposure yet to code would have to start with Scratch.
But
Mady, you're like more advanced than normal kids at this point, right?
She is, definitely.
And this is actually perfect. So we have Siva online has an 8-year-old, and she wants to know, like, and you're 8, Mady, or are you 9 now?
8. I'm turning.
So this is perfect. So she wants to know what is the best learning course for an 8-year-old. Scratch, you think is the best place to start?
Well, I don't really know. Maybe Scratch or something like.
Well,
Whelpley.
one thing you could do is that if you wanted to follow along with the stuff that we did, so I have ngclub.info where I posted the lessons plans each week that we did. So in the very beginning, the first ones were all Scratch based, and you can see I have links to all of the lessons and all of the different. Sometimes we started off with like templates.
So you're giving out all the curriculum that you developed for free?
Yes, but
you're such a good person, Jeff.
Well, in the beginning, to be quite frank, up until more recently, it was a very ad hoc. So like, it's not like it's a well-defined curriculum. It's more like, okay, here's a whole bunch of stuff that we did. So it's like
you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. But the hope is sort of along the lines that you were thinking that would. The hope is that we would turn this into like a more structured, like, okay, this is a very well thought out curriculum that everybody can follow. That's what we're going towards eventually.
I think that's awesome. And I also have to give a shout out to Connie, because Connie is in the chat too, watching from Hong Kong.
Oh wow!
And Connie's really awesome. We hear from Connie a lot, and Connie's great. From Hong Kong, like across the world.
So there were, in that first session, doing mostly Scratch, there were a lot of lessons learned, right, Mady?
Yeah.
So like, just kind of, if you don't mind, I'll go through like the top like 4 or 5 of like the big lessons we learned in teaching kids this young. You're starting to learn programming, and one of them was had to do, Mady, with the attention span and specifically when people have their computers open versus closed.
Well,
Do you remember that?
It's a big difference.
Yeah, so why don't you tell them what the rule that we
When the
eventually...
people have theirs open, no one will listen because they're just looking at the computer.
Yes. So I am so used to myself, I could have my computer open and I listen as I'm doing stuff and you're multitasking. Kids are generally not good at multitasking. And in fact, if the computer is open in front of them, they are just not going to listen to you. So I eventually realized that, okay, we got to, in the beginning, tell kids to like put down the computer a little bit, like start to close it so they don't see it, listen to what I'm saying, and then they can get it open and like start working on it. And we'll kind of go back and forth like that. So that worked a lot better once we got past that. The second thing was I tried to do challenges at one point because, with other developers, when I'm teaching like adults, that actually is a format that works well. It's like, okay, maybe you explain something a bit, and it's like, okay, now you're on your own. Just do this thing. Try to build this. Create a cat that jumps over a building or something. And for adults, I think that works because we have some basic skills for like how to figure out how to know things that you don't know, but kids generally don't. Like what happened when we tried to do those challenges, Mady?
Well, most people just didn't get it.
Well, they didn't get it. They were listening, but there's a lot of gaps in understanding.
They didn't really know that was important, so they didn't really stick it in their head.
Right. And so there's that where it was important to make sure that I never let them go off on their own for too long, like maybe for like a very short time periods of like, okay, just for another minute, tweak this a little bit. But generally speaking, it wasn't good to just like for longer than a couple minutes, let them like, okay, just do something, because almost guaranteed if there's more than a couple minutes that they're on their own, they're off in all sorts of different directions. And then the other thing with challenges was that there's some kids that just don't are very whether it's they're not confident in themselves or that they just don't like the stress of it, and so they would actually get very sad. In fact, I got upset myself because one girl during one of the things, it just started crying, and out of nowhere, and I didn't understand it at first. But then I was like, oh, okay, it's because she felt like she was behind and everybody else was like way past her, and it was this whole thing. So
I start crying sometimes too when I'm coding. It's totally normal.
I think we all do. Yes. But so better format, much, much better that we figured out was the code-alongs. So how do the code-alongs work?
But yeah, you just bring up blocks on the ngClub.app, and then everyone will just follow that.
Yeah, so basically one thing at a time. Like I do it along with them. So like we have a
and it's on the Stack Blitz?
Not on Stack Blitz. We actually have a projection monitor that so the people can see it like ahead of them, and I do it, and then they do it. Not yet. And then they'll do it right alongside. So
that's beautiful. So they're just staying close with you. Nobody's getting stressed out. Nobody's getting distracted.
Yes, exactly. And then what I will do though is like right at the end is like we'll do something and we'll all build together. And also, by the way, even if I'm going slowly like that, like if you don't have other people who are like kind of watching over their shoulders, kids will still deviate. But like as long as you kind of keep looking over the shoulder and make sure that they're and assuming that is, then I leave a couple minutes at the end where it's like, okay, so you have this working program. We all did it together. So now just like tweak it a little bit, just like
you could make them variables, different names, or let's say put in different words for different things.
Yeah, make different sounds. You guys loved in Scratch changing the sounds. Yeah. That was like, oh my God. Changing the sounds is like the favorite thing for everybody.
Yeah, because the kids want to have like, they want to see something happen when they code, and then like I do this and it does this, and yeah, it seems like the most important thing in starting with anybody that you want to like encourage them to code. You really need to set them up for success and give them the confidence, because coding is is intimidating, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know how to do that. I don't know what to do. And as soon as you get that negative feeling of like, oh, I feel like an idiot, I don't know, I feel stupid, then it's like, I don't like it, right? But if you do one little thing and you go, oh, that was fun, like then you're hooked, right? And then it's like, okay, let's do some more and let's have some more fun. And so it's good that you're like tweaking it to make sure that they're engaged and interested and participating.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's sort of like in baseball, you know, when you're going up through, if you advance too quickly in baseball, you know, people can get really like messed up in the majors. That's why like they have like the single A, double A, triple A, because they want to slowly progress people and get people, you know, comfortable with a level before they move up to the next one. And so that's part of your job. Part of it also is like being very encouraging, like you're saying, like keeping people like, you know, psyched up. And then the last thing is that at first I did the club almost by myself. We did have one other teacher there that didn't really know coding, but she helped a little bit with answering questions or whatever. But it was too much. That we had 12 kids, and what I realized is that you sort of need to have like one adult for every like 4 kids, like about that ratio, because there's just so many things happening at once. Like you're trying, like I'm in the front trying to teach a concept, then one kid's like asking random questions, like, and another is like causing trouble, and like there's like all sorts of stuff. So some of those early ones, Mady, were pretty chaotic, weren't they? So we got a couple people to help out, you know, from the community, and you know now it's like much better.
That's so great. That's a good problem to have, though. If you have too many kids that come to you and want to learn, and you need more teachers, that's good.
Definitely. And so like we finished off the first session like all using Scratch, and it was okay. I mean it went well. Like everybody liked it, I think. Right, Mady, you liked that first session, right? But the one big problem, and like the big thing at the very end that I sort of thought a lot about, was that we did have during the last 2 weeks actually, I tried to transition them to real coding, like in StackBlitz, and I was going through just a very simple JavaScript, you know, web app or whatever, and they got some of it, but it was like a really hard transition. And so it actually speaks to, I forgot who had mentioned it before, of or asking the question about you know, transitioning your kids to you know, real coding, but
that would be Lance, because his kids are a little bit older.
yeah.
So they're ready to like go to the next level, and like what's after Scratch, or how do you like get them you know, over that, out of the familiar area and into actually writing code.
So I think, and the answer I think is that you definitely can, but it's not a quick transition. It's not something where all of a sudden immediately they like just get it. It's almost like you have to start again. And so for the second session, which started just you know, last month, a new set of kids, you know, so essentially starting from zero again. I thought about, okay, should we do that same format again or do something different? And one thing I want to try is to kind of like forget about that first part, and instead of going from what's really like the top down, like meaning like you're starting with like a game and you're trying to like bake some coding concepts into a game, let's try going from the bottom up and like actually teach just like very basic fundamentals of JavaScript, like very basics of JavaScript. And so this next or the past month, we haven't been doing any Scratch. We've been just learning JavaScript.
And how's that going?
So it's been going good, right, Mady? I think the key is that I created this to teach the kids, which is a visual programming interface similar to Scratch. So you do have blocks that you bring over, but the big difference is that it generates JavaScript code. So like the whole time that we're learning, I'm constantly pointing out the actual JavaScript code. And if you want, I could share my screen and I could show you this.
Yes.
Okay. Maddie's been waiting for this.
This is the fun part, huh?
Yes. So hold on a second. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So this is the NG Club app. It is built with Angular, of course, and it also uses a library from Google called Blockly, which is a way. This Blockly is the library that has all these widgets. And so using these, you can drag them over just as an example. So let's drag over a function.
These pieces do look a lot like Scratch.
Yes, they do look a lot like Scratch. And so the way that I tell the kids, I've been trying to make sure that they put all of their code in functions. And so you can see on the right, this is the JavaScript code that gets generated. So if we just want to print out hello world, and then run program, there's hello world. And there's a lot of little things I've started to bake into this, but that's the basic gist. And so using this program, well, you can speak up. What did you say, Mady?
So if the code's not in a function, it looks like this, like that.
Oh, yeah. So I did want to force them to always put their code in functions. So yeah, I created that error, and I'm continuing to like modify and tweak this. It's really raw right now. It still doesn't look that pretty. But,
I love it.
A lot more than I've ever done. I'm not going to judge. Although, I mean, I'm guessing this is JavaScript and not TypeScript. So, you know, hey, there's that issue.
Yes, I'll have to work on that. And so for the first week, Mady, stop for a second. Maddie's trying to like type everything.
Hey man, she's a star of the show. She can do it.
So for the first,
I'm just kidding, Maddie. You should listen to your dad.
So for the first week, the only thing that we focused on was like because we wanted to go slowly, really slowly. So the first thing we did was just focus on variables. And actually, when we focused on variables, I used your daughter Bonnie's talk, the Angular for Visual Learners. I took that to heart. And when I talked to the kids, I was like, okay. Yeah, and I've been trying to do this for all the concepts, but I think it worked particularly well for variables, where the way I describe it, and actually for the people who don't know, Bonnie's daughter did a talk which talks about how people who have dyslexia, as well as younger kids even that don't have dyslexia, they are able to understand concepts better sometimes if you give it an image, like if you visualize something with an image. And so for variables, the way I describe it to the kids is that it's a box. It's like a cardboard box that you can give it a name. I gave this cardboard box the name Foo, and then you could put whatever you want in the box. But what you put in the box is different than the name. Those are two separate things. And so in this case, I am going to assign a number to the box. Oh, geez, sorry. I'm going to assign the number 33 to the box that I'm calling Foo. And so the Foo has 33. And then we did a whole bunch of other stuff with the variables where I did like adding, where we added, create another variable. Okay, I'll call this variable Mady. And so we'll set Mady to, let's combine them to Foo plus, let's do, Foo plus 5. And then, of course, we have to print it out. So I would set this up, and then I would say, okay, kids, here we go. What is going to print out? And Mady, what's going?
38.
That's right.
That was my guess too.
And so on. So this is the basic gist.
This is very cool. I love this. Did Jeff's audio freeze?
I lost him.
Yeah.
Well, there is a storm in Boston right now, and he was showing us this horrific storm that was right outside his window. So we're going to give him a minute, and he probably will come right back. This is great. So while we wait, Lance, I wanted to mention something to you for your sons as well.
Okay.
Well, I didn't know about this, and this is really cool. But also, have you thought about Arduino for them?
I've heard a little bit about it. I haven't investigated. So
you might check it out. Arduino, there's also a thing called Raspberry Pi. You can get them like a little starter kit on Amazon for like $35. Basically, it's like a little tiny like motherboard, and they can like there's a whole community. It's really great.
My brother-in-law has a mechanical engineering background, but he's now a software architect, and he likes to do things with his hands a lot more than I do. And so one thing he decided to do was make his own skee ball console, and he has a Raspberry Pi behind the scenes, and he had my son design the interface for it, like keeping score and all of that using Scratch. So like my brother-in-law is actually much more makery than I am, and he's already gotten the boys into that a little bit.
Yeah,
I love it.
Arduinos are a lot of fun. There's also a version of microcontroller called Tessel that actually uses JavaScript. You can write code in JavaScript.
Yeah, I think that the thing with kids, or at least with mine, like Sam really loved the things that like they need to have a little bit of instant gratification. And so you don't want to throw them too far into the deep end of, business logic. They need to have something that they can see. HTML and CSS are really great for beginners because it's so easy for them to see what they're doing, especially with CSS. But then the Arduino and the Raspberry Pi, just like especially for like teenagers, they like to just like have a thing to make it do something, and that was really cool. However, be careful because if you actually get started with your sons, it's very easy to sucked into a very expensive hobby, because my husband actually grabbed the Arduino that I bought for my son, and next thing you know, my husband spent like another $800 on components for the Arduino. So it was like, no, it was supposed to be like a $35 thing, and then they got a little carried away and built like a tank with lasers. It was crazy.
Wow.
So Jeff is connecting and reconnecting, and we're hoping that he will be able to jump back in and brave the internet challenges with the storm that's up in the Northeast. Oh yeah. We were doing a little Arduino detour while we were waiting.
There's that other one. It was like someone in this.
Where did I leave you guys off?
You were showing us this awesome demo.
Okay.
And I'm curious, like, can people actually use that? Is that available, or is that like just local for you?
What the?
Oh, I'm using it right now. I open another window and
his demo.
Yeah, anyone can go to ngclub.app and use it. Yeah.
That's so great. ngclub.app.
So has it ever been stress tested before? We'll find out.
Yes.
All of our viewers are going to go and open it up, and it's going to crash. No, we have like 8 people watching. It's fun.
Come on, it'll be fun.
You can handle 8 people.
But do you guys see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay. So the important thing that I mentioned was that when I dragged over this code to this is to do a Mad Libs type of where it combines a bunch of strings, like a noun and a place, into one string. Hold on, Maddie.
Because the last thing that we heard before you dropped was you made a variable named Mady and you added it to foo, and it was 38, and then we lost you.
Oh, okay.
So we missed the whole part about the Angie. Angie wasn't even in the picture at all.
Yeah. So this is an example of an exercise that we did the other day where we did Mad Libs, and kids know what Mad Libs are, right? And before we actually did this, we did a Mad Libs just on the board, just so people kind of reinforce. And it was a funny one, and you can make jokes about it or whatever. And so this one, they immediately like understood what that meant, and we created this function to generate a Mad Lib string, right? And then let me just add the last part to print it out. So if I print out,
you have to say what the noun and place are you going.
I know. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
What do you want them to be?
She's
Maddie?
just making sure you get it right.
The noun is Maddie.
The noun is Maddie. Okay.
And the place
is what?
96 Richardson Road.
96 Richardson Road. Okay. Yeah, that's well. Okay. And let's do Melrose.
Melrose.
Okay. So it just combines the string. But so I did this like
Wait,
super.
it says I saw the Mady and went to the mower.
Right. So I did this really quick, but in the classroom, what I was saying before was that I do this super slow. Like putting this together, I would spend a half an hour at least explaining on the left side how to use all the different visual blocks. But then most importantly, I go line by line through the JavaScript code and explain how all this works. Does that make sense?
So in this one, Angie is actually the whole Mad Lib.
She is, yes. I mean, this is like a simple function, right? I mean, it's just combining a string. The other one that we did this past week was a choose your own adventure with conditionals. And I won't do the whole thing now, but I'm not going to do the whole thing now, Matt.
Just do some.
I'll do a little bit, Jeff.
Okay. So I introduced in the concept of prompting the user. So you
prompt.
Well, we got to create a variable for it. So
Maddie, say Maddie.
Well, let's relax. Let's just set Angie to it. So so we prompt somebody to we said, I think, like a monster attacks you.
Do you run away?
Do you run away? Yes or no? Okay. And then
If yes. If wait, where's that?
So we do this one. We do if and Angie.
Maddie.
Well, it's we already said it's Angie.
I want to do Maddie. You can just change it. I'm gonna change this code afterwards.
Sure. So if it equals yes, and print out, yay, you ran and lived. And then in the rest of the part, I would say,
you know what's going to happen if you don't run.
Oh yeah, I put that they died.
Oh, you died. Sure. That's brutal.
Yeah. You got eaten.
Sorry, your childhood is over. You are dead.
Keep on going and call main again.
Yeah, actually, so I mean, there's always different.
She knows. Okay. This is so great because she knows like exactly what we're gonna do. It's like, yeah, Maddie's got this.
So one thing that I try to do with all of the lessons is always bake something at the end that if we do get through a lot, like you don't know how much the kids are gonna like get. So sometimes you have to, sometimes less. But I always have a little bit extra at the end in case we have time. And so for this one, what Maddie's referring to, we had a little extra time, and I said, okay, just imagine if there are a whole bunch of if conditionals, because we added a whole bunch of like if else's of like if they say yes, or if they say no, or if they say like maybe or whatever.
No, mine says if they say okay.
Yeah, okay. If they say okay, whatever. But then you want like a default at the bottom. And what I was going to say is put here like, okay, at the bottom, if they enter some other garbage, just say, I don't understand. Let's do that again.
What about no?
Well, hold on a second.
I don't understand.
I know. So the thing I was like, okay, who can tell me how we would basically start asking them again? Who knows how we could start doing this again? And there's a lot of different ways or whatever. But one kid actually did come with the right answer, which was actually I don't. You're unfortunately. Wait, hold on a second. This is not set up right. Let me change.
First of all, you need
change. Hold on, I have to change one thing.
It's hard to be like doing a live demo on YouTube.
I know. Oh my god, I'm so terrible at
it. No, you're great. This is super fun.
So basically, the answer is like to add like another function call.
Mad libs at the bottom.
Well, I know. Yeah, she's my backseat coder here.
She's cracking me up. I love it.
But the answer was that you if they enter some garbage that you run Mad Libs and kind of start a recursion, and one kid actually got it. Like I was amazed. Like it was awesome. I know you.
Well, we know you got it, Maddie.
Go ahead. You can. Maddie's
been dying to run it.
Maddie's
I
controlling right
didn't
now.
understand do that today.
Right, and
then if we
Okay.
type yes.
well, we gotta do yes, and then we can act. Okay.
Okay.
You ran and lived.
Okay.
Yay!
But I made the mistake of doing an endless one. Then I can get
Yeah, so that's right. It was kind of funny that with this, once I taught them how to do recursion, it might not be surprising to find that a number of kids got into like a recursive loop that crashed their computers.
On purpose, of course.
That was fun.
I just had to open a new tab and start all over.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if I were a kid and somebody told me I could make a recursive loop and crash my computer, I would probably want to check that out and see at least once. Like everybody's done it once. You have to,
the last thing I was going to mention with that is that, so obviously that's the current state, and I have a whole bunch of plans for improving that little app. You guys are welcome to go to ngclub.app and use it, or especially for you guys that are on the panel here, if you want to help contribute to it, this is an open source project.
Dad, can you show me ngclub.info?
Which one? What? Okay, yeah, I'll show that in a second. It is a GitHub project. All the sources, everything's open sourced, and so eventually, I do want to get some help to improve it. I have like a long list of stuff that I want to do to improve the app, and eventually, not only have the app as something that everybody can use it, and it's a great tool to teach kids how to learn, but also that there's a solid curriculum that goes along with it, like I mentioned before, of how to use that and how to like guidelines and best practices, some of the stuff that we're talking about right here.
I love this. I think it's such a good idea, and I think you are such fun people, both of you. And I think it's going to be huge, and a lot of people are going to use it, and y'all are going to be famous, and we're going to be like, I know you before you were famous. And it's going to be great. My husband just got home, so the dog is very excited. So Kyler, Lance, you guys have any questions? And if you're watching on YouTube and you have questions, go ahead and drop them in, and we'll see if we can get them answered. Do you guys have questions for them?
Well, I think I found the URL for the repo, and I put it in our group chat. If you could put that out on the
I will paste that. I'll copy that over to the YouTube chat.
Yeah, assuming that I got the right one, but I'm guessing
that's the right one. I saw it.
Cool. No, this is really cool. So, I mean, as you said before, obviously it shares similarity with Scratch. Are you trying to think of things that they haven't done, or it was basically the output of the transpiled to the JavaScript that is visible on the screen? I'm sure you use all those words with the children. Is that kind of the main innovation that you're going for?
Yeah. So there's two little UX things that I have, other than some various little UX things that I have a preference for. The main innovations, number one, is yes, the actual JavaScript code output, and kind of getting kids like seeing. I think that's what's most important, and what's missing in Scratch is translating, get that transfer from the visual interface to the actual typed code. Because the hope is that after they go through this for a while, then they already are familiar with seeing the written code, then they can actually just type it out themselves, right? Mm-hmm. That's the whole goal with this. So that's number one. Number two is that I don't have this in here yet, but I do want to start having, I want to start doing some like really cool add-ons, so in Blockly, which is again the library for those code block things. You can create custom blocks, your own custom blocks to do, whatever. And so I actually do want to create a bunch of custom blocks to basically allow you to do all sorts of like wizard stuff. Oh yeah, crazy stuff. So that like basically you open your own window to like Amazon and like scrape a bunch of data, or like I don't know, just like a bunch of stuff where like I want kids to like be amazed with what they can do, and I think by having it as
have it like Scratch.
Well, no, I see that's what I'm not going for, Matt. But I do want you. I think because it's a web-based technology and you can modify other web pages, like using that to your advantage. Like imagine, for example, if you had like a visual programming block that allows you to modify the DOM. And you taught kids of how to use those to like literally bring in like an iframe for some other site and just like start messing around with different stuff on the screen. Like it's that type of stuff that I want to eventually get to, where I think it would number one be interesting because kids would be able to like bring in other sites they know and like kind of mess around with them. But also that teaches you like valuable stuff that you'll use in the real world when you're building websites, like understanding. I mean, that's the thing is Scratch is like a little bit too far removed from like real, not only the written code, but also like the type of real stuff you would be doing. So like I sort of want to align that more, and if they could, build their own kind of user interfaces and that type of thing. I don't know. There's a lot of things along those lines which I think are possible because you're generating JavaScript, and like you guys know, with JavaScript you can like do anything, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was muted. Hey, I have a question for Mady. What do you think, Mady? So I think it's good. Like, I think for younger kids, like Scratch, the cartoony thing is like really good. And then this NG Club app is kind of more like you would say the next step, like after they kind of outgrow Scratch, so they want to go and more do. So what do you think, Mady, is like the right age to go from, or do you think, I guess it depends on like when you start, but like if you have access to Scratch when you're younger, like what do you think is the right age for people to like go to the next step and like kind of outgrow Scratch?
Well, it depends on the person. Like once you start, like actually you can read and stuff, you should probably, you can switch over to higher levels, because when you can't read, you have to have a certain level of reading to move on to bigger.
Yeah, so you think third grade is like about enough reading for actually diving into the code?
It depends. Like if you're really advanced in reading, and maybe second grade. So.
But I think Maddie's absolutely right. My experience is that third grade is sort of that cutoff in my mind.
That's a magic time.
It is, yeah. And also, Maddie's also right that you do have to know the kid. Like, not every kid is the same. I mean, that's one thing that I continue to always get re-reminded of is that you can't teach everybody the same way. People develop at different time frames and that type of thing. So part of that is that you're not going to be. You're never going to be 100% successful when you're trying to teach to a larger group of kids. So, I mean, part of that's just accepting that. But
I mean, if you grab one or two, I think that exposing them to it and giving them that opportunity really is, that's a lot right there. Even if not all the kids are going to pick it up and run with it. Not even all the grownups would pick it up and run with it. But just showing them that opportunity and getting them interested and getting them thinking and talking about it is so cool. Uh-oh. Oh, there they are. I think they froze again.
Yeah, sorry about that. We're back.
It's the internet. How's the storm?
It is a crazy storm here.
We actually had
a whiteout.
It was like, I think earlier. I was watching TV at the time and it just froze.
Yeah.
Yes. Everything froze. Yeah. It's very cold here.
That polar vortex is coming through. Well, I think we got lucky because we managed to make it through the episode, and I think we're starting to get close to the end. Do you guys have anything else that you want to cover?
Mady, do you have any last thoughts?
I don't think so.
Okay. Maddie's very excited about the coding club. We're actually going to. I got us booked at a meetup in Boston to talk about it in person.
I saw that on Twitter. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So we were excited about that. We'll have the whole family down there, and then
and I have to talk to Jesse about you because Jesse has kids I think around the same age as Mady, and he might try to get both of you to come out to Denver and do a talk for his meetup.
Yeah.
And also there are. My friend Sam Julian has, I think, the Portland meetup, who has a show like this. And so if you guys are willing, I think there are a couple more people who would probably love to talk to you, because I think this is what you're doing is really great. And I think that especially the format where you have like this actual little website that people can go to and they can use it themselves and they can do what you've done in their own communities. I think that's beautiful. And I think more people need to know about it because I think this is really, 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 really cool.
Thanks.
So
Yeah.
if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to tell all my meetup friends about you and then they can book you on their shows and we can make sure a lot of people know about this NG Club, especially because there's an app that anybody can use right now. That's a beautiful thing. I love it. Love it. It's so cool.
Definitely.
And we're getting really good feedback on the YouTube. Mady Connie from Hong Kong said that this is really cool. And Jeff, Connie said NG Club is better than Scratch already because the JavaScript code, I mean, having it right there where people can see it, you know, is I think it's really such a good next step. Yeah. So panelists, do you guys have anything to add before we wrap it up?
I do have a quick question, maybe. Are you working in conjunction with a school, or is this just kind of on your own and you have parents that are interested in it?
It's with the school.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you asked this because I do have one other thing I wanted to mention on that. So I appreciate you asking
Good
that.
question, Kyler.
Yeah, so it is in conjunction with the school. There are advantages and disadvantages to doing that. The advantage is that you get resources from the school, meaning that the kids are able to use the school Chromebooks, and there's teachers that help out, and you can do it on school grounds. Like that's all, you know, good, and you know they coordinate all the people that do it and everything like that. But there's a lot of downsides as well. One is that it's
you can't get the same kids every year.
Yeah, it's they force you. They don't allow the kids to continue, so they just do it for a couple months, and then they you know another group of kids, and you can't like keep it going. It's also very short. So it's once a week for like it's supposed to be an hour, but once you take out time for like snacks and other things, it's really just like 30 to 40 minutes. And also, you're not allowed to assign any homework or whatever. So you like, even though I've told them like, oh, if you wanted to check out this site with this other stuff, you actually can't have them tell them to do anything. So I actually think this will probably be the only year I do it as like a club associated with the school. And I think it was good to do that because it got everybody in the community like aware of it and that type of thing. But I do think the better format is actually doing it outside of the school because of those restrictions. And what I want to do later is to have it as something where everybody in the community starts off doing it online, and we do like sessions like this, like hangout sessions and whatever. And then we'll have periodic in-person meetings, like we'll like book like a meeting hall downtown or whatever, and have the kids come in to like answer questions or whatever. And I think that will allow more people to do it, and also that they could continue. They don't have to stop after a couple months. I mean, there's some downsides to that too. So I mean, we'll see how it goes. But none of these, I haven't found the perfect thing yet as far as that goes. I guess is where what I would say.
I do think you should, if you don't already. Oh, and by the way, Mady, I have the same blanket as you. She was playing with it. I was like, oh, that looks so comfy. I got to get one. You don't have a Twitter account yet for NG Club?
Yeah, there is. It's NG Club Live.
Okay, good. Because I was going to say, I really think that, I mean, it might take a while to take off, and it might take a while for people to know that you're out there and that this is available. But I think that it's going to be really cool because over time there will be offshoot groups popping up, and you could have like people tweeting at you and going, hey, we're doing NG Club here and there, and you can like see all over the world people doing NG Club. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, no, that's sort of where we want to get to. So
I love it. I'm going to tell everybody I know, and everybody watching, tell everybody you know, and everybody. Okay, so Jeff, it's called NG Club Live on Twitter.
Yeah.
And are your DMs open if like people want to reach out to you and say, hey, I think this is a good idea, I'm using it? Obviously, if somebody's using this curriculum in a school, teaching kids somewhere, you guys want to know about it just because that's fun, right? We just want to know so that we can because that's super fun. So if anybody uses this curriculum to teach kids, then, you know, shout out back to NG Club Live on Twitter and let them know.
Yep.
And we can just like spread it all over the world.
That'd be good, right, Mady?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think it's awesome. Okay, well, I think that's about it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I think you guys are super fun people, and I think this is such a good idea. And yeah, I think this is great. I hope it takes off, and I hope people use it all over the world. And I love the app.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. All right, everybody. See y'all next week.
Yeah.